Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us once again on Beyond the Trailhead. We have a great guest with us this week. His name is Jim Wirth. He is one of the co-founders and the CEO of GiantMouse Knives, and they have some really neat things that I've seen over the last maybe 3 years or 2 or 3 years now at trade shows and stuff. And so I wanted to have him on just to kind of discuss the concept of knives, because I think we all need like an everyday carry, and we all carry something on the trail or even just in regular life. And so without further ado, Jim, thank you so much for being on today's podcast with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. And then you are located, I think you said, in Lansing, Michigan, right?
Yep. We're in Old Town Lansing. So Lansing has downtown Lansing, where the capital is, and then there's Rio Town, where the Rio Motor Car Company was back in the day, and then there's Old Town, which is just another part of town that's just full of great boutiques and bars and restaurants. And
Yeah. I mean, I'm originally from Canada, just across the pond, basically. And when I first moved to America, I got lost in Flint, Michigan.
oh God, you don't want to get lost there.
And I was 19 years old, driving through Flint, Michigan, and I literally went to the first payphone because I didn't have cell phone back then, and it was like calling my parents, like, help me, I don't know, I'm in the sketchiest area in town. I know Lansing is really pretty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to chat a little bit with you about GiantMouse. And I guess the first thing before we get into like how you got into it and stuff like that, I think people will love to know like why the name GiantMouse.
So my there's 3 co-founders originally. There's myself and my partner Jesper Voxnays from Denmark are still with the company, and then Jens Ansel was the other co-founder, and he left to focus on his brand. He had his own company, his own brand, while we started GiantMouse. So my partner Jesper, who is our chief designer, came up with the name GiantMouse. It was at the time his idea around Giant Mouse wasn't related to knives in any way. It was more that Scandinavian design or Danish design, they're giants in the world of design.
Yeah.
But Denmark's a tiny little country.
Oh, okay.
I think the population of Denmark is like the population of Michigan, basically. It's just this pretty small country, and but they're giants when it comes to design. So he threw that out, and I loved that story behind the name, but even more so, I just loved the name Giant Mouse because it was one of those kind of oxymoron sort of things that it just was catchy. And I'm like, I can build a brand around this name for sure.
Yeah.
And then spinning it more into what we set out to do as founders of a little boutique knife brand doing premium knives in a giant industry of knives. We're never going to be the CRKTs or the Kershaws or the Benchmades of the world. The goal has always been to keep it lean and relatively small and just be very nimble, like a mouse, and be able to, kind of shuck and jive around, all the challenges, but do things the way that we want to do them and not be beholden to any shareholders, or any, board or anything.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. And so how did you guys meet, or how did you end up starting the company, and how long have you guys been around for?
Yep. So this is our 10-year anniversary. It's our jubilee year.
Cool.
So we've had a number of real special editions coming out this year to celebrate that. I've been collecting knives since I was a kid. My oldest brother gave me a little knife when I was probably 14 for my birthday, and it being pretty ADHD, that sent me down a rabbit hole of, holy cow, this thing is amazing. It's beautiful, and I need to learn more and more and more about knives. And I just kicked me off on a lifelong passion of collecting knives and searching for and always on the hunt for something that I want to add to the collection. And back in 2013, 2014, I was in a position to be buying, more real high-end custom knives.
Yeah.
And I had always been going to the big knife shows, to just to, see what's out there and to buy knives for the collection. But this particular year, I went to the New York Custom Knife Show specifically to try to buy a custom knife from either Jesper Voxnaes or Jens Ansel. The Each of them had been licensing their designs to the big knife brands for 25 years or more,
Okay.
and they were also and still are custom knife makers. So they make incredible custom knives, real high end custom knives. So I went to the show, to try to see if I could buy one of their knives at this show. And you can't just walk up to the table and buy a knife at a show like this. You got to
Yeah.
basically go, and if there's a knife that you want, they each put like 5 knives out on their table. And if there's a knife you want, you have to put your name and phone number on a little ticket and put it in a box. And then by the end of the show, they've got like 300 tickets in the box of people that want to buy that knife, and they
Oh,
draw one
wow.
like a lottery. And if you win the lottery, you get to spend $1,400 on the knife, right? So, but when I went up to their table, and they had tables side by side, and I'd never met them before, I went up to the table to meet them, and start looking at their knives. I noticed that all three of us were wearing a Panerai watch,
Okay.
and so I right away knew that these guys are totally into watches, because you don't own a Panerai unless you're into watches and you
Yeah.
kind of know kind of the backstory of the brand and everything. So that basically just kicked off an instant friendship and connection between the three of us,
Oh,
and
cool.
we spent quite a bit of time together during that show, and then we stayed in touch. And over the course of that next year, I'd meet up with them at shows when they'd come back to the U.S. to do the shows, and I started asking them questions around, how their license model works when they license their designs to the big brands. And they explained it all to me, and I felt like this doesn't seem really fair. Like, you guys are getting basically a small percentage of net sales on knives that are like some of the most popular knives in this brand's
Yeah.
catalog of knives, because they're your designs and everybody wants these amazing knives. Why don't you just start your own company and do this on your own? Have the knives produced and sell them through your own brand, and reap the benefits
Yeah.
of that rather than just this small royalty check. And they both said, we've thought about that before, and we've kind of toyed around with that idea, but we're not really business guys. We're creative guys. We're like designers. We just want to focus on design and making knives, and we don't really have the time to do
Yeah.
that. And I said, well, I've got nothing but time. I
Yeah.
was retired at the time. I had a whole nother career before that, and a good exit. So I and I had already started a new little brand of my own, by kind of an e-commerce brand. So I'd built out a e-commerce website, and kind of knew kind of the ins and outs of having a little product brand. So I said, look, I've got nothing but time, and I've already done this. So I mean, in my past career, I created a brand from nothing and grew that. And then, I've already built a website to,
Yeah.
kind of sell through e-commerce. So I know what we would need to do. So why don't we just do it? And you guys design the knives together. So the idea was they would collaborate together on all the
Yeah.
designs, and, we'll, go to manufacturers that we know that can produce the quality that we want in the knives,
Yeah.
and then I'll just run the business here from the US. So
Oh, wow.
we ended up kind of solidifying that plan and that idea at a bar in Brooklyn called Biblio, which
Yeah.
is since closed. But so we named our first production knife the Biblio after the bar that we kind of launched the
Yeah.
business idea. Yeah.
That's cool. I know when I look at the names of the knives and stuff like that, they always have like a cool story and stuff like that. They're not just like a thrown out,
Yep.
you know, name and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty adventurous to kind of just meet people and become friends and then kind of say, hey, let's trust each other and stuff like that. Cause I'm not a risk taker. And so I'm a risk taker when it comes to like being outdoors and everything else. But when it comes to business,
Yeah.
that's probably my biggest downfall is I'm not a risk taker. So I need to meet people like you to be like, you know what? I'll hang out with them and then we can take the risk together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so I guess with saying that story then, so what if you don't mind saying like what did you do before then? Before you retired, what was the business that you
So it was
grew
a
kind of grew?
completely different world. So my degree in school from Michigan State University, right next door to us here in East Lansing, Michigan. I had a master's in accounting information systems.
Okay.
So I started out at public accounting and realized real quick that I hated accounting
Yeah.
and was like starting to freak out. And had an opportunity to move from the financial audit practice of the accounting firm I was working at to their consulting practice, and got into much more of kind of a consultative, approach to, accounting information systems, basically. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up working as an independent contractor on a big systems implementation project at Barclays Bank in
Okay.
San Francisco. And over the course of that project, a couple of guys that I knew from the accounting firm that I had been at, they left there as well to just be independent contractors on this project. We decided to start our own consulting firm,
Okay.
so we could start billing Barclays. The Barclays kind of forced our hand. They said, you guys, we need to hire you as employees because you're, not meeting the 20 IRS rules around
Yeah.
employees versus contract. We said, no, we don't want to be employees at Barclays. So we'll just start our own company. And we've been talking about it anyways. So we did. We launched a company called Base Consulting Group, and we grew that over the next 8 years to about 80 consultants.
Okay.
And then we merged with a private company out of Chicago called Nice Bridge Solutions, and then that was in 2003. And then
Yeah.
over the next 3 years, we grew. We pretty much tripled in size over the next 3 years, to the point where we were around 600 or 700 employees. And
Oh,
then
wow.
we had a specialty. Our niche was data warehousing and business intelligence reporting solutions. So, very deep technical solutions around
Yeah.
data warehouse architecture, and then end user reporting solutions. And Hewlett Packard acquired the company in
Oh, wow.
2006. So
Okay.
I checked out at that point. I was like, I'm really burned out, and
Yeah.
I don't want to keep, kind of burning myself out. Had to get to know my family again after
Yeah.
that 12-year run.
Yeah.
So kind of retired, and just started doing some angel investing and some advising of early stage companies in the San
Yeah.
Francisco Bay Area. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's really neat. I mean, what to grow a company that big is amazing. So, I have a friend of mine. He just retired from Hewlett Packard maybe 10 years ago,
Okay.
or so. So yeah. Okay. So I guess going into from that, then, I guess how did you get your first version of your product? Kind of dialed in. So I know the name of it now, right?
Yep.
So how long did it take from start to finish? I guess because you know they were already your other two partners were already in the
Yep.
knife industry,
Yep.
so I think it might be a little bit smoother, or was it
Yeah.
just as rough as normal?
No, it was pretty smooth. We launched the company, kind of officially launched the business in the fall of 2015, and they right away started working on a design of the first knife that we would produce. And the
Okay.
the original idea when we launched the company was that we would do like 2 or 3 designs a year, and each design would be done in 400 pieces. We do for like the first knife was we called the GM1. The back, we weren't real
Yeah.
creative around names at that point in time. So
Yeah.
GM1 for Giant Mouse One, and it was a folding knife, and we were going to do 300 in a titanium finish, and then 100 in a dark version, like a blackout,
Yeah.
DVD finish. And that was kind of the plan, always was to just do, say 400 knives, and then once they sold out, we discontinue it and we move on and we do another one and we do another
Yeah.
one. And so that first knife, they designed it, and we went to one of the manufacturers in Italy that they both knew of and had worked with, I believe, in the past, and we knew they could do the quality that we needed. So It's in Maniago, Italy. It is very northern Italy at the base of the Dolomites. It's the whole town is devoted to cutlery manufacturing and dental
Oh, cool.
tools and corkscrews, kind of small
Yeah.
metal product. Um, and it's just the most beautiful little town. But so we went, we gave the drawings to the manufacturer, had some back and forth, and then it got prototypes made, and
Yeah.
then that's kind of always the process. We get samples or prototypes, and once we have it in hand and we can kind of see and feel, especially for the designers,
Yeah.
the kind of the ergonomics of the knife and the function, then we can kind of dial in the final details before we go into a production run. Uh, yeah,
Okay. Okay. So I guess so. I have a friend that runs a company out of Austria, and so with the prototyping and everything else, are most of your knives still made in Italy, or where are
Yeah,
they manufactured
most
different
of the knives are
places?
made in Italy. We have two. We
Okay.
were working with three manufacturers in Italy, and one of them bought one of the other ones. So now it's two in manufacturers in Italy, and then we also have two manufacturers in China that are turning out the highest production, some of the highest quality production knives in the industry.
Okay.
Yeah,
So with Europe, I know at least with Austria, my friend's company, they run into this holiday
oh
where
yeah,
people can just basically take their 2 months of
yeah,
vacation whenever the heck they
yeah.
want.
It's not
So
so
is there
bad
are
for
there
us.
any?
It's in
Yeah.
Italy, it's the month of August, basically.
Okay.
So with Italy, we pretty much, know that not much at all is gonna be happening for the entire month of August, and then with, China, with the Chinese New Year, it's like a few
Yeah.
weeks in February, I think. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That was my question because I know every country has their different holidays or whatever, and especially when you start a business and you're like, I talked to somebody and they had no idea that this one country had like this full month
Yeah.
off, and they were trying to get stuff done, and they were like, why aren't they answering my emails? Why aren't they doing
Right.
anything? And they were just like, am, am are they did they just take all my money?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay. So I guess what would be like a oh crap moment when you were building your brand? Maybe it was at the beginning, or even
I
now,
think one
you
of
know?
the first "oh crap" moments was, about probably a couple of years into this is the one that resonates the most with me 'cause it was
Yeah.
big. A couple of years into it when we, started to do well, I'll take that back. So one of the first "oh crap" moments was actually a good one.
Yeah.
We had the GM1 and, that did, pretty well, it took a little while, but it sold out, and then we had the GM2, and then, pretty quickly, we started to see talk on the internet about how there's this amazing new knife brand that you can never buy a knife from because they're always sold out. So that was our "oh crap" moment that
Yeah.
we have a community here of customers that want our product, and there's demand,
Yeah.
and we're kind of, really we've got a like a governor switch on our opportunity here
Yeah.
because we're only doing 400 in each run and discontinuing.
Yeah.
So we decided at that point, when we were meeting, my partners would come into the U.S. every year around October because one of them was designing for Kershaw and one of them was designing for
Okay.
CRKT, and those companies are up in Portland. So, and at the time, I was in the San Francisco Bay Area. So when they were coming in for their week long, trip for those meetings, I would fly up from, the San Francisco Bay Area and spend the week with them, and
Yeah.
we always stayed at the Ace Hotel in Portland. So, we at one of those meetings there, we decided we needed an unlimited line of knives, so we would always have product in stock for people to buy,
Yeah.
but continue to also have the GM line. We ended up
Yeah.
saying, okay, so we've got the GM line with the GM1, GM2, and just every future real limited run knife, and then we'll have the
Yeah.
Ace line, which would be just unlimited, and we can always do more and more and more. So we called that line the Ace line, after Ace
Yeah.
Hotel, and that kind of kicked off our storytelling about the brand. So the other, oh crap moment was a folding knife that we designed for that unlimited line, that we called the Clyde. And we named
Mhm.
it after the bar that was in the Ace Hotel that was called the Clyde Commons. So we named this knife
Okay.
the Clyde. And we had, we got samples, and they samples seemed fine. We had the production run done, and I think it was like maybe 600 knives shipped to us here in the US, and we opened them up and realized that there was a defect. They're basically, we there needed to be a slight change to the design to really have the
Yeah.
knife functioning the right, as well as it could. So
Yeah.
we basically said, we can't sell these. We need to ship them all back to Italy. But the
Yeah.
problem was that we had already announced the drop date to our customers, that the Clyde's
Oh, okay.
coming, and we were showing teaser pictures with our samples. So we
Yeah.
had the whole drop plan and marketing thing all set, and people were anticipating it and waiting for it. And then we had to basically come out and say, sorry, false start. We have to, actually there's an
Yeah.
issue. So it's going to be another, month or so. So we
Yeah.
shipped them back to Italy, and then, but we were able to spin that and turn it into kind of a fun, marketing campaign, where
Yeah.
we started to like run like some it's kind of a, just a question on, social media, like, who's Clyde, because we
Yeah.
when we, the knife's kind of a quirky little knife, and it's got a strange, like, kind of a mix of kind of, a Persian blade style with
Yeah.
with some like Scandinavian look. um we have yeah, so here's one here. So this is the Clyde.
Oh,
Yep.
cool.
And so we said, Clyde's kind of weird. It's like, Clyde's like your uncle that comes to Thanksgiving with a bunch of tacos and a six pack, whatever. And so we started to get customer. We ran a contest and said, everybody write who they think Clyde is,
Yeah.
and then we'll pick a winner, and you'll get a free one or whatever. So it turned into a
Yeah.
real fun campaign, and
That's good.
Clyde became one of the most traveled knives, we going back and forth to Italy probably a couple
Yeah.
times. So that was a big one for us, but we learned a lot. Our manufacturers learned a lot. So
Yeah. So when you had to send it back, was it a pretty major change, or I guess it sounds like something they were able to fix on the
yeah,
actual knives as opposed to redoing it from
yeah,
scratch?
yeah. It wasn't.
So
It basically meant disassembling them all, making a slight change,
yeah.
and then
Okay.
reassembling them all. So it was more time
Okay.
than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good because I know if you had to burn an entire
No.
batch, that would
Yeah.
be. I guess you wouldn't burn them; you'd melt them.
Or
So.
something. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so I guess my next question is what's now that you showed that, maybe what's one piece of gear that you swear by, that maybe other people think is totally overrated from your company, that maybe you're like, this is the thing, but everybody else thinks this is it, but you're like, no, this is what I really love,
Huh.
knife wise.
Yeah. I'm looking over here um at our board. Yeah, maybe the Nazca.
Okay.
Um we have our in our showroom, we have all of our models laid out here.
Yeah.
Um I mean, it's more, for me, it's more the question that people have: why do I need a knife at all? Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
so like we exhibit at a lot of watch fairs, because there's a huge
Okay.
crossover between watch collectors and connoisseurs
Ah.
and knife people. And because they're both like really, finely made. If you're
Yeah.
into the quality level of the product, right? I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you can buy a watch at a gas station, you can buy a knife at a gas station, you're going to get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But if you're going to a watch fair, like the wind up watch fairs that we exhibit at, there's 50, 60, 70 micro brands of watches that are
Okay.
real high quality, not or watch companies. And a number of real well-known watch brands that you would recognize the names of. And so we get a lot of people that aren't interested in knives that are coming into the watch fairs, but they come by and they
Yeah.
see our table and they stop and they look for a long time and they start talking to us. And but then they're
Yeah.
like, God, I these are beautiful. I'd love to get one, but I don't carry a knife. Why would I carry a knife? And so
Yeah.
then it comes, that's kind of back to your question. And so I tell them,
Yeah.
well, I don't know about you, but every day I'm having to cut up like a poly bag that comes in the mail that I can't tear
Yeah.
open. I have to cut the tape on a Amazon box. I gotta cut some string on something, or I gotta, dig something out of,
Hmm.
something with a tip of something sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, my knife is in and out of my pocket like 30 times a day, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of like almost in a little bit of shock, saying how could you have gone this long without carrying a knife in your pocket?
Yeah. That's
Right?
totally true.
Um,
Yeah.
so
It's like having a watch. You're
well,
like, you have it and you're like checking the time at least, 50, 60 times a
yeah,
day. Same with the
yeah,
knife. And then it matches. Then yeah,
yeah,
I can
yep,
see that
yep.
crossover because they really appreciate the artistry
Yes,
and
and
stuff,
but it comes down to that because back to the watches nowadays, and for many years now, people would say, why would I even wear a watch? Because I have the time right here on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they'll have a smartwatch on their wrist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for people that are like truly into watches, I've been collecting watches for 30 years now. It's like I
Yeah.
would never wear a smartwatch.
Yeah.
I have to have a mechanical watch on my wrist, whether it's a
Yeah.
manual wind or an automatic. I have a couple of quartz watches that I got as gifts over the years. I never wear them because
Yeah.
they don't kind of, embody that passion around
Yeah.
gears and the mechanics of what makes this thing work. And
Yeah.
that's when it comes to knives as well. You can get just like when we have a couple of different models that are just slip joints, like the old school, like your grandpa's knife. There's no locking
Yeah.
mechanism or opening mechanism. It's just opens and closes. And
Yeah.
so some people, when they come by, they're like, well, so I want to buy a knife. I don't know that much about knives. And then they're like, why would I need this versus this versus this? So
Yeah.
so we come to like something like our Nazca, which is a crossbar lock. So the little lock on here, basically once you pull back on the lock, it makes it
Okay.
you can open it with your thumb, like this,
Yeah.
and then to close it, you just pull back on the lock and it closes. But then you
Oh,
can
cool.
also, if you want to really, quickly open it, you can just flick it open, by pulling back
Yeah.
on the lock like that. It almost, it's not an automatic,
Yeah.
but with different locking mechanisms, you can kind of do. It almost becomes a fidget for some people, which is
Yep. That's what I
a
was just
whole
about to
other
say.
thing about knives. Is it's so funny. And sometimes I'll be talking on the phone with somebody that's a customer or one of my employees, and in the background I just hear click, 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 and they're sitting
Yeah.
and they're like flicking their knife open and closed,
Yeah.
and it never it ceases to amaze me how we'll always have like a customer a couple times a year write in and say, I think there's something wrong with the knife because it's like really tearing my thumb up,
Yeah.
opening and closing it. And we're like, well, are you like just normal use? And like, well, no, I sit on my
Yeah.
couch and I like open and close it like 1,000 times. I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
No wonder your
Yeah.
thumb is sore.
I do the exact same thing whenever I'm on a phone call with a client or anybody. I always have a knife on my desk, and I'm always just flicking it open and closed, open because I'm a big fidgeter. So I'm
Yep.
usually doodling, or I'm flicking. And
Yep.
my wife's always like, "You're scaring me because you're playing with your knife all the time."
Right.
I'm like, no, this is just my fidgety
Yeah.
thing. And then I'm usually cutting paper or something. And I think over the last probably like 2 years, I've really gotten into carrying, like having an everyday carry with me and stuff like
Yep.
that for a knife. And just even some people when they go hiking, they say they don't even need. They say, "Oh, I don't even really need a knife," and I'm like, "But you need some. you need something. And so in the stuff that I typically shoot is a lot of ultralight backpacking and everything. So I'm always trying to find the lightest knife that I recommend to
Yep.
people, but yet something that's reliable and that's nice and sharp, not something that as soon as you cut one or two things, next thing you know, you can't,
Right.
you're cutting an apple and it slips on it because it's just so dull right away. You end up cutting your own
Yep.
finger. So that's why when I met you guys the first time, I think it was at it would have been in Utah the first time at outdoor
Out to
outdoor
retail. Yeah.
retailer like two
Yep.
or 3 years ago. Yeah. And I was like, this is cool. And then I think I ran into y'all again at it was either SHOT Show or um
Switchback.
the Western Hunting
Oh,
Expo. Oh no,
did you go to
no, it's a
Switchback?
Switchback.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was a Switchback. That's when I ran
Yep.
into y'all again too, and that's why I was like, oh, I want to have them
Oh, great.
on and talk about knives a bit. So if you, I guess for some people who are listening that are in the hiking world, and I know your knives kind of you have limited runs too, but then you also have ones that stay. Is there one that you recommend, like maybe as a starter knife, or and then maybe another one that's like a really light one that you can
EMF1
put
and a
in
Clyde.
your bag?
Yeah, I'm having Colin grab a couple.
Cool.
So that Clyde that I showed you before, in canvas micarta is it's pretty small and it's lightweight because the handle scales are canvas micarta.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's basically sheets of canvas with resin and heat and pressure to form a solid, and then it
Okay.
can be machined like wood. So
Oh, cool.
it's a real slim knife. It can just easily be tucked away. If you got it in your pocket, you won't really know you've got it.
Yeah.
It's relatively lightweight. But we do this little fixed blade knife we called it was our first fixed blade. So it's the GMF1 for GiantMouse Fixed One. And it's this little skeletonized guy here. So
Oh, cool.
it's pretty small. And
Yeah.
it's got a lot of belly on it for blade edge.
Yeah.
And it's real slim. So it comes with a leather sheath. So these are made in Italy. It's a handmade leather sheath. But when you can wear it on your belt with this loop, but a lot of people just
Yeah.
toss it in their pocket or in their backpack because it's just so small and so thin. And then we
Yeah.
also have an option. We have as an accessory, we have a Kydex sheath, so you can basically just put it in the Kydex sheath, and again you can
Oh, nice.
connect it to your backpack or your
Yeah.
whatever. And it's just a great little utility knife. And this was, I said, the first fixed blade that we did. It probably came out around 2017, and we do like 7 different variations of this knife now in different finishes. And there's a 4 millimeter version and a 5 millimeter thick version. We've sold over 10,000 of these in the past, whatever, eight
Wow.
years. It's one of the best sellers that we have, actually.
Okay. That's the
GMF1,
GMF1, right?
yeah. And then we a couple of years ago we made a larger version of it, the GMF1 XL. So, and
Yeah.
we had it done with handles, but you could take the
Oh,
handles
cool.
off and it would still be skeletonized.
Yeah.
So that comes in a leather sheath with a snap on it, and it also has
Yeah.
a Kydex option. And this knife won Best Fixed Blade of the Year at Blade Show in Atlanta in 2023, I think it was.
Oh, cool.
2024.
So
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, don't, so ultralight backpacking or even backpacking, people say, oh, take an electric pump to pump up your sleeping pad and stuff like that. And I'm like, don't take the electric pump, take a knife so you have something, and then leave the electric pump at home if you're trying to save weight and stuff
Yeah.
like that, because then it balances it out.
Right.
Because I've been on trail so many times where someone's asked me for a knife where I'm like, I don't understand how people out in the
Right.
woods are the types of people
Yeah.
that are recommending to
Yeah.
people, oh, I don't take a knife, don't even take a little pair of scissors, you're fine, I've never needed to use a knife.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like you do. I was just on, I keep telling this story just because it was pretty recent, but I was on Mount Whitney, and I actually had the woman on who had hurt her ankle. So we had to wrap her ankle and everything else. And so I had other stuff that sometimes people have said, don't bring with you because it's overkill. and not that you have to pack all your fears and, think that everything's going to go wrong, but at the same time, a space blanket it's only less than an ounce, right? And that helped keep her warm. I've twisted my ankle before, so I had a small bandage, and then I have a small knife in my bag that I'm able to cut that bandage with, as opposed to you can't really tear that bandage.
Right.
So I think an everyday carry is kind of a must. I feel like every man at least should have a watch, a knife,
Pen.
you always go phone, wallet, keys,
Yep.
pen, knife, and then I leave the house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, my pen, everyday carry pen, is this Coeco Sport in brass. Just fits in my front pocket, but it's just, you can unscrew it and it's great.
Awesome. Okay, so a couple more questions, then we'll just hit the rapid fire round real quick. So if you're, I guess, what's something you believe about the outdoor industry that others might not necessarily agree with?
Something about the outdoor that I believe about the outdoor industry that others might.
Then maybe other people are like, oh, no, this is, because everybody has their opinions about the outdoor industry. Like even what I had just said about carrying a knife versus not carrying a knife. Some people think you don't need to.
Right.
But some people might think that the outdoor industry is on the upswing and the downswing. Maybe there's certain things in the knife industry that people think are a certain way, but you're like, no, it should be this way, or I think it's this way. Pretty deep question.
It is a deep question. I guess I don't know if this is going to answer it the way you're asking it, but I think depending on who you talk to about the outdoor industry, their vision or their perception of the outdoor industry is narrow to what their interest is. So, for example, I went up to an outdoor summit in Traverse City to speak on a panel a month ago, and it was an outdoor industry, summit. And, I went there thinking there was going to be, some apparel, some, sleeping bags and tents and just like brands for these. And then when, I got there and I started meeting all these people, I'm like, wow, this is like, I wouldn't have categorized all these other things or services, right, or products into the outdoor industry. So it's truly a incredibly broad industry when you start looking at all the different services and all the different products that are part of the outdoor industry. And if you just walk into Moose Jaw Mountaineering that used to be down in East Lansing, it's a relatively small outdoor outfitter. That particular store is kind of tailored to mountaineering and hiking, camping, climbing, that kind of thing. You even just going into an outdoor gear store, depending on what part of the outdoor industry's market they're targeting, you only get a little slice of the whole breadth of the industry. It's huge.
With the outdoor industry, they always come out with all these stats on the industry, but it's such a broad stat that you can't ever, because I have a friend that we're going camping in 2 weeks, and in my mind, I'm like, he must love the outdoors. He goes hunting all the time, but he's like, I've never been camping, but that's a completely different outdoor industry than what I'm a part of.
Right.
And then when I was in Colorado on the Colorado Trail, I'm only out there for 3 or 4 days. And then I'm meeting other people that have been out there for 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
And it's or people who do off-roading. I've never done off-roading. That's a completely different thing. And so you just can't pigeonhole it into one thing. But I think at the trade shows, and sometimes they'll make it just like, oh, this is the outdoor industry as a whole is collapsing. And you're like, no, well, or it's doing really, really well, but yet other aspects are not doing as well, are doing are doing better.
Right.
So
Right. No, I
yeah,
get that for sure. Yeah, because you're right. Overlanding is huge. Off-roading overlanding. And there's entire conference, your expositions
yeah,
around like just the Overland Expo. It's all
yeah.
about
Overland Expo. Yeah,
overlanding. Yet, and we haven't yet, but I think we probably will this year. We would go and exhibit there with our knives because
yeah.
people that are overlanders should have a good knife with them while
Oh
they're
yeah,
going out on these, cross country treks or whatever.
yeah,
There's, I mean, paddle sports, kayaking and paddleboarding and all that kind of stuff. There's, I mean, like you said, hunting, fishing. I mean, basically, you can break this whole outdoor industry down into so many segments,
yeah,
and a lot of people don't think about like including knives in the
yeah,
outdoor industry, right?
yeah, yeah. And I think the good thing about your product too is because some people will create a product that's very niche, but I feel like knives, like, I mean, in the kitchen every day, I'm using a knife, right? Cooking dinner and stuff like that.
Yep.
So a knife is something that you can use with so many aspects of your life. And so I think you definitely nailed like a really good industry to be in too,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So are you going to be in Atlanta? Is there any like trade? Because I'm in Atlanta. So when you
Yeah,
said there was a knife
we
show in
are. That's
Atlanta,
the biggest knife show of the year is in Atlanta. It's Blade
really?
Show, and it's in the first weekend of June usually. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'd love to see you come by. Maybe we can get you a pass.
Yeah.
Colin's already given me a thumbs up. We're gonna get you a pass so that you
Sweet.
can get in and just go all around and see all the exhibitors and all the different everyday carry stuff. I mean, it's mostly knives, but
Yeah.
there's a few companies that are like more pen than knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is an odd question, but kind of neat because I think it's always fun to ask this for people because it's your product and it's your business. So what's one of the weirdest, most unexpected places maybe you've seen your product show up at?
Boy. It's not necessarily a place, but it's when we realize that we have a customer that is somebody that surprises us.
Yeah.
We're like, holy cow, what's the actor's name that yes. Lillard, right? Yeah, yeah. Matthew Lillard, the
Okay.
guy that played Shaggy on the Scooby-Doo movies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like he likes our knives, or like Josh Peck from Drake and
Yeah.
Josh, the old Drake and Josh show,
Yeah.
he likes our knives. Chris Pontius from Jackass loves
Yeah.
our knives. And it's like, or like there've been like some comedians that are really well-known comedians that like all of a sudden we'll see something pop up where they've got one of our knives.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's for me what is really, really cool to all of a sudden
Yeah.
see it pop up, or just
Yeah.
in, conversation with someone who doesn't know anything about Giant Mouse and meets me for the first time. And like I was at dinner with my wife and one of her good friends and her friend's husband. And so he and I were talking, and he said, "Well, what do you do?" And I told him, I'm the CEO of GiantMouse Knives. He was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, my son just gave me a GiantMouse knife for Christmas last year.
Oh, cool.
My son's totally into knives, and he gave me a GiantMouse knife." And I'm like, "Well, that's so cool that we, just like serendipitously pop up like
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always neat seeing your product like running into somebody or like they're carrying it. Like when I'm on trail and some of the times I've been with brands, like they're the owner of the brand and we're on trail doing a photo shoot or something, and someone will pass by with their backpack on or their jacket on, and
Yeah.
you see them light up because they're like, oh, people really are like, people are buying it and stuff. But when you see people actually using it, you're like, man, people are using it for what I created it for.
Yeah.
So that excitement just
Yeah.
kind of goes over the
Yeah,
top. So
definitely.
um, well, awesome. So, I mean, Thank you so much, Jim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over these. We call them a rapid fire round, but basically it's just a
Sure.
couple of random quick questions, not too deep. Some of them you may answer just a little bit more, but for the most part, they're just a couple word answers. So I guess first question is favorite national park.
Say Yosemite.
Yosemite?
Since I was out in San Francisco Bay Area for 30 years
Yeah.
before moving back here to Michigan.
Yeah, that's our family's favorite park. I feel like at least 50% of the people I ask always say Yosemite. I don't know. There's something special about that place. So, all right. Next thing is last thing you Googled or Chat GPT related to your business.
Oh man, that's like every day ChatGPT. It was a trying to get ChatGPT to give me like a Gartner style graph of where GiantMouse fits with the other brands
Okay.
in terms of price and quality.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
get kind of that 2-axis graph with
Yeah.
all the different kind of high-end brands, but to graph them by quality and price.
I didn't know I could do that on there, so I'm going to try to do that with my photography. All right. If you could collab with any brand, who would it be?
We've got a couple of really exciting collabs in the works right now.
Yeah.
Product is actually already produced. One of them is going to be announced in like another week. Actually,
Yeah.
we announced it. I guess I can talk about it because we announced it at the Wind Up Watch Fair. So it's Shinola.
Okay.
So we've designed it's our bleaker knife, but we've designed it specifically as a liner lock instead of it's normally a frame lock, and we redesigned it as a liner lock so that both scales could be brass.
Okay.
And so there's a limited edition run exclusively for Shinola, so they'll only be for sale through Shinola's stores and website.
Oh, cool.
We also announced at the show a collaboration with Zodiac, which is the watch brand from Switzerland. That's
Yeah.
like 140, I think, years old as a brand. And I, being a watch collector, have many Zodiacs and vintage Zodiacs because they want one of the first watch companies that really went into the use a no pun intended, but they went deep into the dive watches early on.
Yeah.
When dive watches first started coming out in like the late 50s, early 60s. They came out with a line of incredible divers watches. So we designed a dive knife, and I contacted the folks at Fossil Group, which
Yeah.
owns Zodiac, and got their the key player from Zodiac and Fossil Group on the Zoom call and pitched a collaboration of why don't we do a box set with a 300 pieces, a Super Seawolf Pro Dive watch.
Oh, cool.
Matched colorways, matched with our GiantMouse diver's knife. Kind of boxed together, and they love the idea. And it's pretty much everything is done except because of tariffs. We're having trouble getting the watches here from Switzerland. But it'll probably be a early 2026 launch.
That's cool.
For that. We've got some other really great collabs in the works. We did one with Castle and Key Distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky. We met them at doing a pop-up shop at Filson, and they came they were there pouring their bourbon at Filson for the customers. And so we got talking with them, and they were showing us on their laptop, the property down in Frankfort, Kentucky. This is the old Taylor Distillery.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful property. And they were saying how much they loved this idea of, the pop-up shop that we were doing at Filson. And I said, well, why don't you guys invite us down to Kentucky? We'll do a pop-up shop there at Castle and Key. Well, that turned into a much bigger thing. They invited my partners and I to come spend 2 full days on the property with them to go through like everything from soup to nuts on the
Yeah.
bourbon and whiskey making process, everything from the raw materials and the processes down to barreling and
Yeah.
bottling, and sent us away with the inspiration to design a knife exclusively for them. So
Oh, wow.
we came up with a knife that we call the Castle and Key Distiller's Blade,
Okay.
and we incorporated copper into the knife because of all the copper that's used in the distillery.
Yeah.
And then the shape here around the pivot is the shape of their water source on their property. It's like a skeleton keyhole.
Okay.
So the main building, which is again, it's the old Taylor
Yeah.
Distillery, but the main building is like a castle, and then the water source is the skeleton key
Oh,
hole shape. So the guy that bought the property and revitalized it as a distillery named it Castle and Key because of that. But
yeah.
it's just this great. So we did basically 100 pieces of this knife in black in a boxed set
Yeah.
with a bottle of bourbon, a single barrel bourbon that my partner and I selected the barrel for
Oh, cool.
for being bottled.
Yeah.
And then we had another 100 in a blue version that was just sold by itself, the knife by itself. So but other brands that I would love to collaborate with, Topo Designs. We're talking with those guys.
Yeah.
They love our knives. We love their bags. So I could see something happening with Topo down the road.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
That's cool.
we're talking to a couple of other watch brands right now that the watch brands love to see us at the shows, and we've had interest from several of them
Yeah.
to do collaborations with us.
Yeah. I love the pairing with I just love the detail that you guys put into all your knives too. Like it's like the little hidden details and the little, it's so connected with the brand, like the keyhole thing and I mean, the designs are super cool. I'm a super detailed person, so I love that. My wife wouldn't say I'm a detailed person in life, but I'm detailed in the things that I love to do. So that's cool. All right. I guess two more questions. What's your most used piece of gear in your life right now, other than your knife?
It's got to be, I mean, wear a watch every
Yeah.
day, so it's got to be
Yeah.
my one of my watches, which I have way too many now. Need to sell off some of the collection. And it's my pen.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I don't have this Coeco brass pen in
Yeah.
my pocket, I feel lost. Like, where is it? And I have to like search through the house to
Yeah.
try to find it, because I just, before I leave the house, I got to make sure it's in my pocket,
Yeah.
because I'm using it all day
Yeah.
every day. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say it's those two.
That's cool. I need to do like a cool lay flat of like uh, a watch with a knife and a nice pen with like
Yeah.
some cool wood or something like that, because it just sounds like
Yeah.
I think
That's
I need to get a pen out of my thing. Right? All I have is this multicolored pen because I'm always doing scorekeeping with my daughter's volleyball. So I need a
okay.
multicolored one real
Great.
quick, and I just end up
Yeah.
always having it.
Yeah.
And I'm always clicking it when I'm
Yeah.
when I'm talking. So
Well, one of the great things about having a product company that is an everyday carry
yeah,
item is that the volume of user generated content that you get
yeah,
from Instagram and Facebook of every customer, pretty much, not every, but the majority of your customers that love to do the flat lays
Yeah.
and show their new knife
Yeah.
with their little glass of bourbon and a pen or a watch. I mean, the time and energy that goes into positioning everything for a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
It's like all of that content is just out there
Yeah.
marketing for us every day.
Yeah. No, I think that's a
Yeah.
good thing for just as a business tip for people too, is when your product is something like people use all the time versus something like, let's say, a tent, maybe where I'm only using it once or twice a year, versus something where
Right.
I always have it and I might easily take a picture of it because I'm using it. So it's always on the forefront of my thought, and
Yep.
you post it online. And then when you guys post it, right? When you as a consumer see your picture reposted by a company that you trust and stuff like that, you get super excited. And then you start making more pictures and more content and stuff like that. And
Yep.
then you get super excited. So I love the cycle of life with social media and with companies. So I guess the last question would be, what's something you're still learning as a leader?
How to delegate,
Yeah. Okay.
basically,
Yeah.
because I've especially with Giant Mouse, the first 5 years, it was just me here in the US and my two partners in Denmark.
Yeah.
So I was doing everything and running, I was every role in the business, I was doing it myself. And as we got to, and I probably waited way too long to hire, my first employee. And it was to basically get customer service off my plate because that was taking up so much of my time when I needed to be doing other things. And then luckily, this gal, Bridget, who I hired right out of Michigan State, she was really great at customer service, but then she also, her degree was in like marketing advertising. So I started handing more and more and more of the marketing stuff to her, and she just took it and ran. And so then I realized, wow, this is really great. I can actually like have, I can trust other people to do these things that in the past I only felt comfortable doing myself. And so but I'm still learning, and I've got a team of 6 or 7 full-time employees now, and it's still it's hard for me to step out of the weeds and just let others do all of the day-to-day operations.
Yeah. I mean, it's like my daughter's about to go off to college next year, and it's like letting go of your child, and you're like, okay, I've got to trust these things with it. It's the same thing with your business. It's your baby, and it's a different type of baby, but
Well, and that's a really good point, because then the other thing that I need to always remind myself is that, while my employees are very involved in the brand and love the brand and are passionate about what we're doing, at the end of the day, this is a job for them. Whereas at the end of the day, there is no end of the day, because this is my baby. I take it home with me every day, and I sleep with it, and I wake up with it in the morning. It was like, it's always present. And it's for me, it's almost impossible to let go and just say there's me in my life, and then there's my business. It's always been, even with my other company, I can't separate the two.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, when you're passionate about what you do, you can't stop but keep doing it. So it's like trying to find that life, like live work balance with family and everything else. So I'm sure we all have stories where like we had to put our families aside to do work, and then where you had to put work aside and say, okay, I can't do this because I know I have to spend time with my family, and finding that balance and stuff like that. But I mean, that's really good. So Jim, I mean, thank you again for your time, and I know you're a busy man. It sounds like. So if people are looking for Giant Mouse, where can they find you online?
They can find us online at www.giantmouse.com.
Okay.
And they can find us at, we have a dealer list. If they want to check them out in person, we have a dealer list on our website. I think it's a map now. Is the map on the website now? So soon? Yeah, we're getting there. We've got a map that we've created with the little blue dots all around the country, and around the globe, really. But we've got our knives in a lot of retailers. One of the bigger retailers is Shields. If you've heard of Shields, they're in the middle of the country, and I think they have 34 stores now. Maybe we're in like 27 or 28 of their stores.
Awesome.
So good chance that you would see us in a Shields.
Okay, cool. And then if people are wanting to become a dealer, they could just reach out on your website as well.
Yeah. We have a place for dealers to reach out to us.
Awesome. Well,
and we're always adding more dealers. Always adding dealers.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to see the next limited drop, and I'm sure everybody can't wait to see what the kind of unique things that you guys create. And everybody, thank you so much for listening to Beyond the Trailhead once again. And Jim, thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is great. Thank you.